Vladimir Putin has held a rare face-to-face meeting with international news agencies in St. Petersburg. The Russian president told journalists the deliveries of German tanks to Ukraine came as a shock. Germany recently joined the US in authorizing Ukraine to hit some targets on Russian soil with the long-range weapons they supply to Kyiv. Mr. Putin says the use of those weapons would mark a dangerous step and could further undermine international security. He's warned Russia could provide its own long-range missiles to others to strike Western targets.
For some reason, the West believes that Russia will never use nuclear weapons. If someone's actions threaten our sovereignty, we consider it possible for us to use all means at our disposal.
Here's our global affairs analyst, John Lyons. Hi there, John. So are things ramping up? How much of this is posturing?
Well, Ros, it's always hard to know with Vladimir Putin. This is, according to some analysts, about the 80th time now since the war began, the invasion 2.5 years ago, that Vladimir Putin or one of his officials has used the nuclear spectre, has raised the nuclear threat. So, you know, is it the boy or the dictator crying wolf? It's hard to know. The West has to, obviously, the world has to be, see it as a possibility. It's concerning because they have more nuclear warheads than any other country. So, we have to take this carefully. But obviously, Vladimir Putin has always been using this in the background. And fascinating, that briefing that he had. Pretty rare. Foreign journalists in St. Petersburg, they're up in this high-rise tower, sitting around 2-3 hours or so, and Vladimir Putin laughing, and they asked him, but was he the aggressor, the world's major aggressor, and he's laughing and trying to charm them all. But fascinating that basically with the velvet glove, the fist beneath that glove is the threat that we will enable other countries to start hitting third countries if the US allows their weapons to be fired into Russia. He could be talking, we don't know who he's talking about or if it's an empty threat, but it's certainly disturbing rhetoric.
So how does this move by the West to allow its weapons to be used to hit targets inside Russia, how does that change the dynamic of this war?
Well, it changes it because up till now, Ukraine's been fighting with one hand behind its back. There's not many wars where one side is not allowed to fire into the other. Ukraine has not been able to fire into Russia. The subtext to all of this is, of course, that the US does not want a major conflagration for this to spread around Europe, and therefore has not wanted to aggravate Russia too much. It's pretty clear now Washington doesn't want Ukraine to lose, but it doesn't want Putin to lose either. It would rather gridlock, because if Vladimir Putin loses this war, the US is worried about what comes after him, what comes next in terms of the oligarchs and the chaos within Russia with all those nuclear weapons. So now Kharkiv is under attack really seriously in Ukraine, and this is in response to that. Ukraine is slowly losing the war, and the US is starting to think we have to try to do something different, so they're allowing now their missiles to be fired into parts of Russia.